Hey Norm, I was just talking with Fred. At times over the last few months, while it may have felt or feel like some progress is being made, how disappointing is it to have something like this remind everyone that there's still so much work to be done?
Um, to be honest, man, I've been sitting trying to think about what I was gonna say to you guys and the way I go about this, but I'm I'm frustrated, honestly. I'm disappointed. I mean, I have a wide range of emotions right now with everything that's going on, and today's world and what we keep seeing over and over again. I'm pretty tired and sick to my stomach to have to sit up here and talk about this again and continue this long fight that we've been fighting um, since day one, of in slavery, being brought over to America and having to fight for our rights and our freedom to live a life that is promised to everybody. Um, and we constantly have to fight and see our lives um, being valued as so little. Um, feel for Jacob Blake and their family and their community and everybody that had to witness and go through that and see that. It's frustrating. Um, yeah, man, it's just very frustrating, and I'm tired of sitting up here and talking about Black Lives Matter and doing this, that, and the other, and trying to affect change. And you constantly see people in law enforcement. Some people, I'm not going to put that burden and say everybody in law enforcement, because I know there's great, good officers out there. I know great police officers and officers that want to affect change and believe in the movement and see that things need to happen and everything like that. But there are some officers in law enforcement that need to be held accountable for their actions, and I'm tired of reading and seeing these incidences and then seeing these police officers getting put on administrative leave, like go, okay, you kill somebody, go have a vacation and we'll figure out what really happened. Like for me, if you're in that position and have that badge, you're supposed to wear it with honor. It's to protect and serve everybody, and you need to be held to a higher standard of the law since you're the one enforcing it. And the fact that you constantly see people with that uniform on getting away and being acquitted and not being charged with murder, when you see firsthand video of that happening, it's frustrating, and we can't allow that, because if I took a gun and killed somebody, we're going to jail. We're not going back home and continuing on with our daily lives while they investigate what's going on in the crime scene. You're getting put in jail and being held accountable for your actions. And the same needs to go for those police officers involved, especially when you see blatant video. There shouldn't be a 30-day, 60-day investigation on what really happened in the incident. You see it firsthand, and that's what needs to change. The police officers are involved in these incidences are not scared or fearing for themselves, because they're being protected, and the taxpayers are paying for these administrative leaves, and it's unfair. And so they continue to walk around with no remorse and what they're doing, and having their actions justified by people who don't really see the full picture of what's going on. And I'm tired of seeing that. So to sit up here and answer your question and everybody's questions about what's consistently going on until we put some pressure and force that stuff needs to be changed and start truly demanding for these laws and police reforms to take effect now, ain't nothing gonna change. I'm gonna sit up here and continue to waste my breath and talk to you guys about what I'm doing and trying to help make change. But it's on all of us to actually stand up and demand things and get in front of these people's faces that make the laws and have the power to fully affect change and force them to. And until that is done, ain't gonna change. I'm gonna sit up here and answer you guys' questions and continue to say Black Lives Matter and make effective change. But until we all who believe that and see that what's going on is ready to step up and lay it on the line to make real change and move towards real progress and take the ones that don't belong in that field out. We're going to keep seeing it over and over again.
Thank you, Norm.
Next question goes to Michael Grange from Sportsnet.
Norm, I hope you're doing okay. I guess you're not. Fred was speaking, and I asked him, and he made the point that you're being in the bubble, and is that a conflict between what's going on outside and the kind of attention that your voices can bring to it. But I asked him if there'd been any conversation about maybe boycotting games, and he didn't answer, but specifically. But I wonder if that's something that has been discussed within your team or amongst players in the bubble.
I think it's been talked about. There's a lot of things that have been being talked about and how to approach this sensitive issue. And I think everybody is at the point of sitting up and saying Black Lives Matter and sitting up and having these discussions and Zoom calls and this and the other and putting apparel on and like that. That's not getting the job done. Taking a knee for the anthem, that's not getting the job done. It's starting to get washed out. I feel like Black Lives Matter is just another thing in conversation now, because we see it so much and it's everywhere, now it's just in a daily conversation, and it's kind of getting to the point where you're not really noticing it. I see Black Lives Matter. It's like an everyday thing, and like I said, something has to happen to where you're forcing those people who can affect and make the change to do something. And we can sit up here and ask and see what the players are doing and what are they doing to help and try to make this better. But yeah, you guys gotten it all. You guys seen it from day one with we first came down here asking what each individual is doing, what the team's doing, and how we're doing about it. But stuff needs to happen from your guys' point of view too. You guys are reporters. You guys have the ability to put this out and put the truth out and force them to make change. Like, yeah, you can put quotes from us and what we're doing, raising money, putting stuff towards different movements and campaigns to help communities involved around the world and in Canada. But until you put the pressure on the ones involved, and their names and their jobs are on the line, it doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what you guys put up for articles and things like that. Until you guys are knocking on the doors and we're knocking on the doors of saying, where do you stand, and making them draw the line of where they're at, nothing's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, hey, they're sitting comfortably, they're following the law, and they think that's okay. We did an investigation and we found them not guilty, and they go home and sleep at night perfectly fine, and they live their lives and go to their job. But until they're on the line for getting fired and having to lose everything, nothing's going to happen. And that starts from all of us, not just the players here. Starts with you guys. It starts with Masai's doing a great job of keeping the things going, but putting pressure on the ones involved of making change and causing some dramatic shift. And that's how I see it. I don't feel any regret for coming here, because if there wasn't a pandemic, we'd still be playing basketball in months back, and the George Floyd incident would have still happened during the playoffs, and we'd still be facing with these what's going on in the world today. So being here in Orlando was a choice. I try to live my life with no regrets and be happy with the decisions and choices I made, knowing that it was the right choice for me and my family and what I thought was best, and continue to take advantage of the situation anywhere I can to keep this initiative and movement going with where I'm at. Being isolated doesn't stop me from trying to make my imprint and leave my mark on this movement. I could be home right now doing the same thing. We still have to be quarantined and limited in what we can do outside, but being in a bubble or being back home wouldn't change what I'm doing. So I don't see being here as that big of a problem. And the fact that everybody's eyes is on this right now, I think it highlights a lot more because it's not spread out. It's not in one state, this state, and we're trying to piece everything together. Everybody's here, everybody's centralized, and you can actually see something and make effective change with all the minds and everybody that's here, since we're all together in this one area.
Thank you, Norm.
Going next to Kayla Gray from TSN.
Hey, Norm. I know that you have said that you have been obviously actively engaged with your communities while still being in the bubble. I'm wondering and just trying to clarify if some of the frustration is with kind of the steps that groups inside the bubble have taken, if it's not, the messages just aren't getting across quick enough, fast enough, and how you move forward from that, if it's just going back to more conversations or if that's something that's being discussed as to what comes next.
I think we're discussing what comes next now. We did what we needed to do in terms of voicing where we stand, as an organization, individually, and as a league. The NBA is doing a great job in working with the NBPA and the players in this league and making sure our voices and what we want to say and talk about in these situations and times is being heard and is being out there, is being broadcast, it's not being pushed aside or just out there for a segment. They stand with us in terms of voicing that people's rights are being violated, and something needs to happen. So we did that. We did those steps, and everybody knows where we stand as a league. But now, what are we doing to affect change, and how are we going to demand that? Everybody knows where we stand, but what's next? Because it's still happening. So how do we force the hand? Because until somebody does something really dramatic and kind of go Black Panther and carry your own arms and fight back with the police and things like that, nothing's going to change. And then we do that. There's another narrative. Now there's a reason why we're viewed that way, because we're taking the by any means necessary route, that we're going to protect ours if they're not going to protect us, and we go and fight back, then we're going to have another issue on our hands. So now how do we resolve this in the right way and force those lawmakers, those legislators, those senators, governors, so on and so forth in the government, put the rules and laws in place that prevents this from happening. And that's the steps and things that are being talked about. And how do we demand more now and less conversations and building blocks? How do we formulate a plan to create change and make this happen immediately? Because we've talked enough about it.
Appreciate it.
Final question is going to go to Gary Washburn from the Boston Globe.
Young kids, Black kids out there that are just trying to wonder how to manage every day. What would you say to kids in your hometown, San Diego, Black kids who are 15, 14, 16, looking at this and going, like, am I going to live to be 18?
The same thing that I did. I'm a product of that environment. I grew up in that. A lot of people view San Diego as this peaceful, lovely place from La Jolla to Del Mar, and it's so beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with it, and there's no quote unquote ghetto or urban era. But I grew up in Southeast San Diego, south of the 805, and for the people that do know, that's our city, and that's the urban community, the inner city, where it's a struggle, and it's not Compton and Watts and everything like that, but it's a struggle, it's a daily fight. We deal with the same thing that is going on, and it's kind of pushed away because of the area that's around it, and it's kind of blocked out from where people like to talk about it. But if you're from San Diego, you know about Southeast San Diego, and I grew up in that. I grew up with police using unnecessary force. I grew up being profiled and because of my skin color, and I grew up having those conversations with my mom and how to react and respond when I'm put in these situations. And what I always tell them is to protect yourself, know your rights, learn what you can and cannot do, you know, and make sure you try your best not to put yourself in those situations, and do your best to be successful with what's given, and don't settle for less. And when you do find yourself being able to get out, to come back and re-educate and give back to the community the same way that I've done. You know, I walked the same streets, I walked down the same hallways at Lincoln High School. I dealt with police walking up and down our campus being locked out from the Black versus Mexican riots when I was a junior in high school. And it's real, you know, and until you see it firsthand and are a part of it, you know, you're not going to really know how to respond or react. But I always tell them to put yourself in the best position to be successful with what's given, and don't settle for people telling you that you can't make it and you can't be successful in any field, not just being an athlete, trying to be successful that way, since we've had Marcus Allen and Terrell Davis and me and so many other players come out of that league from football and basketball and be successful. You can be successful in no matter where you want to be in life and in whatever field. And once you get there, try to affect the best changes possible so you can give the next generation the tools and the knowledge necessary to navigate those stressors and those things that you see in life that can really take you down the wrong path. That's what I try to talk to them about whenever I go back to these community events and fundraising things that I put on for my community, you know, and trying to give them the tools that I use to be successful, given the product of the environment that I was raised in, you know. And that's what I try to do, to affect change with them, and so they pass that knowledge on to the next generation, so we have more people coming out of these communities being successful, being able to see the world and affect change in the necessary areas that they need to affect change in.